Hey fellas, welcome to my GPZ TV channel. Today I'm going to talk about the different methods of carb tuning. Probably the wrong phrase actually. Carb synchronization, sorry, not tuning, synchronization. I have done previously how to synchronize with homemade tools. I'm going to talk about three tools that I now have in my possession. The one is my homemade tool, the second one is a set of Chinese dials, and the third is the Carbtune. And let's see how they work against each other, pros and cons, and see if you can even use the cheap tools to do what you need to do. So let's crack on. This is the Carbtune 2. I think this model is about 20 years old, but at the end of the day they're all the same. What you have is the body, and in the body you have 4 tubes for a set of 4 carbs. Obviously you can get Carbtunes with just 2, and each tube is connected to a pipe like this, which connects to the vacuum port on the carburetor, and it does nothing other than basically the vacuum sucks into the pipes, and in here you can just about see them here. This is not mercury or anything, these are actually like silver rods. Okay, so when there's a vacuum in here, it pulls the rod up, it's sprung loaded, it pulls the rod up. There's no mercury, you can't spill anything, and after a while, like these were, if they get sticky and the rods don't come up, you can actually completely dismantle this and clean it. I might do that in a separate video, but if I find tube number 1, this is tube number 1, and give it and just suck on it, it pulls this rod up, which is sprung loaded. It's not going back down because the tool's lying down. When you use it, it's hanging up. So that's basically how that works. Carbtune. The next tool I have is a set of gauges. Amazon and Co. Sell these for about 30 quid a set. It's a set of 4 gauges on a metal plate. You can obviously get them in sets of 2 as well. There is a little tap here, I'll explain that in a second. But basically with your 4 gauges there are 4 tubes. Here's one. You attach one end to the gauge and the other end to the carb, and this also does nothing other than measure the vacuum strength. That's all it does. Okay, so they do look nice, got nice gauges and stuff, but when I show you how these work, you'll realize that these aren't actually the best option. So anyway, but this is tool number 2. As I say, bought Amazon about £30 without these little taps. I'll explain that in a minute, what that's for. So my third tool, I'm going to have to walk back a bit now because it's massive, just to show you it. It's a huge plank of wood. It's about 2 meters high, 6 foot, whatever. And what it has, all it is 4 tubes, right? 4 tubes that come down. This is just to hold them in place. They come down, and you have 2 tubes that come together to a T-piece like this, and these 2 tubes, so like number 1, 2, 3, 4, so 3 and 4 come together in a T-piece like this, and then they are joined in one. So everything is all connected to each other. Okay, and it's full of engine oil, nice clear engine oil. Same principle. Take a tube, number 1, I'll just suck on it. By sucking on it, it's pulled this oil level up because obviously the vacuum in here is higher. this one's dropped, and these two moved as well. So basically they're all connected. So that is very briefly my 3 tools. If anyone wants any detailed information on those 3, just let me know and I'll do a little video about it. But that was a short introduction on the tools. Now I shall prepare the bike. So the first tool that I've fitted is the homemade tool, and each tube, 1, 2, 3, 4, so 1, 2, 3 and 4, go to the vacuum ports on your carburetor. So obviously tube number 1 goes to port 1, tube number 2 to number 2, number 3 to number 3, number 4 to number 4. And the oil is relatively level. It's moved because I just moved the gauge, so it's obviously moved the oil. The bike's relatively warm, so basically I'm just going to start her up. I've set it so that the revs are around 1500 and just see what happens. So as you can see, number 4 is obviously pulling stronger than number 3. That needs to be looked at. Now, what I like about this tool is the oil, the weight of the oil dampens the reading. So yes, there's a little bit of fluctuation there, but it's just a little wobble. This is something that will become worse on the gauges, I'll show you. So this is the reading I have on my self-made gauge. Bike running warm at about 1500 revs. I have cylinder 4 much stronger than 3, and 1 and 2 are about the same. What I'll do now is I will now fit one of the other tools just to make a comparison. So now I have the Carbtune fitted. Comes with a little plastic tie just to hang over the steering wheel, handlebar, steering wheel. I've attached the 4 tubes in the same manner to the vacuum ports, and if this thing works, then we should see, if this thing works, we should see a similar result to the homemade tool. So here we go. Well, what's this showing us? This is showing us that cylinder 2 and 4 are about the same, and 1 and 3 are a bit weak. So who do you believe? I'll give it a little blip. Right, now this is something, hold on, this is something I wanted to show you. This doesn't work very well, this tool, because I've literally only taken it out the packet after it's been stored for about 20 years, and this actually needs cleaning. These tubes are sticking inside the glass. Oh, there we go, it's just dropped. But according to this, it does say that the carbs are roughly okay. I'll have to recheck against the oil version. But basically, I need to service this tool, but that's how it works. Now these are well dampened. There's no fluttering in the tool whatsoever. But the reason for that is, and I'll show you, the reason for that is inside the tubing there is a split here, because inside here there's a plastic tube in there. I'll just get it to focus, which has a tiny little hole, and that is what is letting the air through. There you go, that little hole there. So if you just use the whole tube, that thickness here, it will flutter like mad. So you have to reduce them with this little tubing here. So this does actually work quite well, but these tools here, and this is the downside, do actually need, like once every 20 years, servicing. You can pull it apart, and using the proper cleaning method, you can clean these rods because they stick in here, which obviously doesn't happen with the oil tool that I made. So if you didn't know that, you would think that this is okay. Okay, there we did see that cylinder 4 is a bit stronger on this one as well, but it's a small dial. It's okay. It's okay if the carbs are well out. You can use this tool to sink them in, and that's how that one works. So now let's go to the gauges. So I have now fitted the gauges and done exactly the same thing. Each tube goes to each takeoff port on the carbs. Now a quick thing for you. The whole point of this dampening that I keep talking about is that when the engine runs, it pulsates, and the vacuum isn't just a straight vacuum like sucking with your mouth. It's a pulsating suck. So it's like every few, it's like it pulsates a few times a second. What this means is that every single pulsate would be shown on the dial, and the dial will flicker, or the rods will flicker, or the oil will flicker. And this needs dampening somehow. So what the ingenious minds of this tool have done is they've fitted a tap here. And what this does is you can open and close the airflow to the gauge. But let me tell you, it's rubbish, right? It wobbles. It's useless. So what I've done is I've bought some of these extra taps. Actually came all the way from Scotland. I think a mate of mine, Andy, told me where to get them. It might have been Jeff, can't remember. So I've just put these taps in the tubing, and these taps work. So I've closed them off to reduce the flow of air. That's basically what that is all about, to stop the flutter. So they're all attached. Right. I'll start the engine and see what these say. This is the flutter I've been talking about. So this tap needs to be shut down a bit more. Just when it stops fluttering, that's when you need to be. So this one's showing just under 20, just under 20, a little bit more under 20, over 20. So this one's showing that cylinder 4 is strong as well. But the actual area of reading on this is only about between 10 and 20. You don't need any of all this, just that little bit there. Right, so it's telling us what my homemade gauge is telling me, but just not as nice, because you have to take into account, are my valves open enough? Is there enough air coming through? Maybe they're shut off by mistake. There we go. And if you didn't have these dampers in, it would look like this. I'll show you. That's what it would look like. So these are a bit fiddly, but they'll do the job as well. And as you can see, 4 is a bit high. So which tool do I like to use? Well, to be honest with you, yes, these look nice and shiny, look professional, look like a real workshop, but I don't like them. Too much fiddling with the air hoses, and is it open, is it closed, are they fluttering. The area that it has, the actual amount of gauge movement that you have is so small you can hardly really tell what it's doing. So this is my third option of the 3 tools I have. The Carbtune is my second option, but it does need servicing, which this one does need badly. It's got a much nicer read area, is that much, as opposed to that little tiny bit on the dials. You can't spill or lose anything. It's fully serviceable, and you can still pick them up for about 30 or 40 quid in the UK, and it's good for doing the job, and it's easy to store. It's nice and small. But the favourite is my homemade tool. So, and this is basically it, my homemade tool, which I'm now going to attach and actually bring those cylinders back into synchronization again. That number 4 was a bit off, and that's basically it. So once all your carbs are tuned up and synced up together, basically you should start on the button basically. So I haven't tried it yet, so this is see what happens. That's good enough for me. So thanks for watching.